Chapter 3. Norm Brewer woke up at 10:15 in the morning to the sound of kids fighting outside the bedroom window and country music from the radio in the kitchen. He went to the back door in his saggy shorts and undershirt, threw it open, and yelled, "You kids, shut your hands!" A moment's pause. Luke and Bobby looked around from the old and rusty dump truck they had been arguing over. As always when he saw his kids, Norm felt dragged two ways at once. His heart ached him to see them wearing hand-me-downs and Salvation Army give-outs like the ones you saw all the other children in East Arnett wearing. At the same time, a horrible shaking anger would sweep through him, making him want to stride out there and beat the living shit out of them. "Yes, Daddy," Luke said in a subdued way. He was 9. "Yes, Daddy," Bobby echoed. He was 7 going on 8. Norm stood for a moment, glaring at them, and slammed the door shut, looking indecisively at the pile of clothes he'd worn yesterday. They were lying at the foot of the sagging double bed where he dropped them. "That slut bitch," he thought. "She didn't even hang up my duds." "Laura!" he bawled. There was no answer. He considered ripping the door open again and asking Luke where the hell she went. It wasn't a United Commodities Day until next week, and if she was down at the employment office in Braintree again, she was an even bigger fool than he thought. He didn't bother to ask the kids. He felt tired and he had a queasy, thumping headache. It felt like a hangover, but he'd only had 3 beers down at Hap's the night before. The accident had been a hell of a thing. The woman and the baby, dead in the car. Campion dying on the way to the hospital. By the time Hap went back, the state patrol had come and gone, and the wrecker in the Braintree undertaker's hack. Doug Palfrey gave the law as a statement for all 5 of them. The undertaker, also the county coroner, refused to speculate on what might have hit them. "But it ain't cholera, and don't go scaring people saying it is. There'll be an autopsy and you can read about it in the paper." Miserable little pissant, Norm thought, slowly dressing himself in yesterday's clothes. His headache was turning into a real blinder. Those kids had better be quiet or they were going to have a pair of broken arms to mouth off about. Why the hell couldn't they have school the whole year round? He considered tucking his shirt into his pants, decided the president probably wouldn't be stopping by that day, and shuffled out into the kitchen in his sock feet. The bright light coming in the east windows made him squint. The cracked Philco radio over the stove sang, "The bay, yay, baby, you can tell me if anyone can. Baby, can you dig your man? He's a righteous man. Tell me, baby, can you dig your man?" Things had come to a pretty pass when they had to play black rock and roll music like that on the local country music station. Norm turned it off before he could split his head. There was a note by the radio, and he picked it up, narrowing his eyes to read it. "Dear Norm, Sarah says she needs somebody to sit a kid this morning and says she'll give me $1. I'll be back for lunch. There's sausage if you want it. I love you, honey. Lila." Norm put the note back and just stood there for a moment, thinking it over and trying to get the sense of it in his mind. It was goddamn hard to think past the headache. Babysitting. $1 for Ralph Hodges' wife. The 3 elements slowly came together in his mind. Lila had gone off to sit Sally Hodges' 3 kids to earn a lousy $1 and had stuck him with Luke and Bobby. God, it was hard times when a man had to sit home and wipe his kids' noses so his wife could go out and scratch a lousy buck that wouldn't even buy them a gallon of gas. That was hard fucking times. Dull anger came to him, making his headache even worse. He shuffled slowly to the Frigidaire, bought when he had been making good overtime, and opened it. Most of the shelves were empty, except for the leftovers Lila had put up in refrigerator dishes. He hated those little plastic Tupperware dishes. Old beans, old corn, leftover dab of chili. Nothing a man liked to eat. Nothing there but little Tupperware dishes and 3 little old sausages done up in handy wrap. He bent, looking at them, the familiar, helpless anger, now compounded by the dull throb in his head. Those sausages looked like somebody cut the cocks off 3 of them pygmies they had down in Africa or South America or wherever the fuck it was they had them. He didn't feel like eating anyway. He felt damn sick when he got right down to it. He went over to the stove, scratched a match on a piece of sandpaper nailed to the wall beside it, lit the front gas ring and put on the coffee. He sat down and waited dully for it to boil. Just before it did, he had to scramble a snot rag out of his back pocket to catch a big wet sneeze. Coming down with a summer cold, he thought. Ain't that something nice on top of everything else? But it never occurred to him to think of the phlegm that had been running out of that fellow Campion's pump the night before. Hap was in the garage bay putting a new tailpipe on Tony Lemonster's Scout, and Vic Palfrey was rocking back on a folding camp chair, watching him and drinking a Dr. Pepper when the bell dinged out front. Vic squinted. "It's the State Patrol," he said. "Looks like your cousin there, Joe Bob." "Okay." Hap came out from beneath the Scout, wiping his hands on a ball of waste. On his way through the office, he sneezed heavily. He hated summer colds. They were the worst. Joseph Robert Brentwood, who was almost 6.5 feet tall, was standing by the back of his cruiser filling up. Beyond him, the 3 pumps Campion had driven over the night before were neatly lined up like dead soldiers. "Hey, Joe Bob!" Hap said, coming out. "Hep, you some bitch!" Joe Bob said, putting the pump handle on automatic and stepping over the hose. "You lucky this place still standing this morning. Shit, Stu saw the guy coming and switched off the pumps. That was a load of sparks, though. Still ain't lucky. Hap, I'll come up with something besides a filler." "Yep." Joe Bob's eyes went to Vic, who was standing in the station door. "Was that old geezer here last night?" "Who, Vic? Yeah, he comes over most every night." "Can he keep his mouth shut?" "Sure, I reckon. He's a good enough old boy." The automatic feed kicked off. Hap squeezed off another 20 cents worth, then put the nozzle back on the pump and switched it off. He walked back to Joe Bob. "So, what's the story?" "Well, let's go inside. I guess the old fella ought to hear to it, and if you get a chance, you can inform the rest of them they were here." They walked across the tarmac and into the office. "Good morning to you, officer," Vic said. Joe Bob nodded. "Coffee, Joe Bob?" Hap asked. "I guess not." He looked at them heavily. "Thing is, I don't know how my superiors would like me being here at all. I don't think they would, so when those guys come here, don't let them know I tipped you right." "What guys, officer?" Vic asked. "Health Department guys," Joe said. Vic said, "Oh, Jesus, it was cholera. I knew it was." Hap looked from one to the other. "Joe Bob?" "I don't know nothing," Joe Bob said. Sitting down on one of the cracked plastic wicker chairs, his bony knees nearly came up to his neck. He took a pack of Chesterfields in his blouse pocket and let up. "Finney in there in the corner, that was a smart ass," Hap said fiercely. "You should have seen him strutting around in here, Joe Bob, just like a pea turkey and got his first hunt on and all that." "He's a big turn little bull, all right," Joe Bob agreed. "Well, he got Dr. James to look at Charles D. Campion, and the two of them called another doctor that, I don't know." Then they got on the phone to Houston around 3 this morning, coming to the little airport about outside of Braintree. "Who's it?" "Pathologists. 3 of them. They were in there with the bodies until about 8. Cutting on is my guess, although I don't know for sure. Then they got on the phone to the Plague Center in Atlanta, and those guys are going to be here this afternoon. But they said in the meantime that the state health department wants to send some fellas out here to see all the guys that were in the station last night. And the guys that drove the rescue unit to Braintree. I don't know, but it sounds like to me they want you quarantined." "Moses and the bulrushes," Hap said, frightened. "The Atlanta Plague Center's federal," Vic said. "What they send out a plane load of federal men just for cholera?" "Search me," Joe Bob said, "but I thought you guys had a right to know. From all I heard, you just tried to lend a hand." "It's appreciated, Joe Bob," Hap said slowly. "What did James and this other doctor say?" "Not much, but they looked scared. I've never seen doctors look scared like that. I didn't much care for it." A heavy silence fell. Joe Bob went to the drink machine and got a bottle of Fresca. The faint hissing sound of carbonation was audible as he popped the cap. As Joe Bob sat down again, Hap took a Kleenex from the box next to the cash register, wiped his runny nose, and folded it into the pocket of his greasy overall. "What have you found out about Charlie?" Vic asked. "Anything?" "We're still checking," Joe Bob said with a traceman point. "His ID says he was from San Diego, but a lot of the stuff in his wallet was 2 or 3 years expired. His driver's license also expired. He had a Bank of America card that was issued in 1986, and that was expired too. He had an Army card, so we're checking in with them. The captain has lunch to Campion and lived in San Diego for maybe 4 years." "AWOL?" Vic asked. He produced a big brandy on a hot mix and spat into it. "Don't yet, but his Army card says he was in until 1997. And he was in civics, and he was with his family. He was a fucking long way from California listening to my mouth run. Well, I'll get in touch with the others and tell them what you said anyway. Hap said, much obliged. Joe Bob stood. Sure, just keep my name out of it. I sure wouldn't want to lose my job. You buddies don't need to know who tipped you, do they? Nope, Vic said, and Hap said, and Vic echoed it. As Joe Bob went to the door, Hap said a little apologetically, That's $5 even for gas, Joe Bob. I had to charge you, but with things the way they are... That's okay, Joe Bob handed him a credit card. State's paying. I got my credit slip to show why I was here. While Hap was filling out the slip, he sneezed twice. You want to watch that, Joe Bob said. Nothing any worse than a summer cold. Don't I know it? Suddenly, from behind them, Vic said, Maybe it ain't a cold. They turned to him. Vic looked frightened. I woke up this morning, sneezing a hacking way like 60, Vic said. Had a mean headache, too. I took some aspirins. It's going back some, but I'm still full of snot. Maybe we're coming down with it. What that Campion had, what he died of. Hap looked at him for a long time, and as he was about to put forward all his reasons why it couldn't be, he sneezed again. Joe Bob looked at them both gravely for a moment and said, You know, it might not be such a bad idea to close the station. Hap, just for today. Hap looked at him and tried to remember what all his reasons had been. He couldn't think of one. All he could remember was that he had also awoke with a headache and a runny nose. Well, everybody caught a cold once in a while. But before that guy Campion had shown up, he was fine. Just fine. The three Hodges kids were 6, 4, and 18 months. The two youngest were taking naps, and the oldest was out back digging a hole. Lella grew up, was in the living room watching The Young and the Restless. She hoped Sally wouldn't return until it was over. Ralph Hodges had bought a big color TV when times had been better in Arnett, and Lella loved to watch the afternoon stories in color. Everything was so much prettier. She drew on her cigarette and then let the smoke out in spasms as a racking cough seized her. She went into the kitchen to spout the mouthful of mucus that she brought up down the drain. She had gotten up with a cough, and all day it had felt like someone was tickling the back of her throat on the inside with a feather. She went back to the living room after taking a peek out the pantry window to make sure Bert was okay. A commercial was on now. 2 dancing bottles of toilet bowl cleaner. Lala let her eyes drift around the room and watched Drone House look this nice. Sally's hobby was doing paint by the number pictures of Christ, and they were all over the living room in nice frames. She especially liked the big one of the Last Supper mounted in back of the TV. It came with 60 different oil colors, Sally had told her, and it took almost 3 months to finish. It was a real work of art. Just as her story came back on, baby Cheryl started to cry, a whooping ugly yell broken by bursts of coughing. Lella put out her cigarette and hurried into the bedroom. Eva, the 4-year-old, was still fast asleep, but Cheryl was lying on her back in her crib, and her face was going in an alarming purple color. Her cries began to sound strangled. Lella, who was not afraid of the croup after seeing both of her own through bouts with it, picked her up by the heels and swatted her firmly on the back. She had no idea if Dr. Spock recommended the sort of treatment or not because she never read him. It worked nicely on baby Cheryl, however. She emitted a froggy croak and suddenly spat an amazing wad of yellow phlegm out into the floor. Better? Lila asked. Yeah, said baby Cheryl. She was almost asleep again. Lila wiped up the mess with a Kleenex. She didn't remember ever having seen a baby cough up so much snarl at once. She sat down in front of The Young and Restless again, frowning. She lit another cigarette, sneezed over the first puff, and then began to cough herself.